Good morning, children. Standard 7th English. The topic is the poem. Listeners, the date is 11th August. Today we are going to discuss about the answers of the poem. Listeners, already I taught you about this poem. Who is the speaker? The speaker is a traveler. Who is the speaker? The speaker is a traveler. What was the horse doing? The horse was biting and chewing the grass nicely. Once the traveler was traveling, he found a house. He found a haunted house, but there was nobody in the house. He was knocking at the door. The nobody was replied to his speech. Here the question, who are the listeners? The listeners were the phantom or ghost who lived in the lonely house. So the speaker imagined that some of the ghosts were living in that house. How did the traveler feel when nobody answered? The traveler felt confused and stood still when nobody answered him. So while he was knocking at the door, nobody was answered him. Here are the poem lines. You have to get the rhyming words to be underlined. The alliterated words: forest, fenny, floor. The letter was alliterated. Alliterated means which starts with F, F, F. Pick out the rhyming words. It has the same sound. Head, said, sill, still, then, men. Rhyming means it has the same sound. Here, who were the phantom listeners? The phantom listeners were the ghost and host of the lonely house who lived there always, even before their death. How many times did the traveler call and knock the door? 3 times. When and where does the action of the poem take place? The action of the poem takes place during the night in a lonely house in the middle of the forest. The poem caption is "the listeners." Which words in the poem confirm that there were listeners? The poem title is Listeners. The phrases "phantom listeners stood listening" and "hearkening" confirm that there were listeners in the house. The poetic device, the author writes, there was somebody in the house, but nobody was answered him. Justify the words from the poem that the house was uninhabited. When the traveler knocked the house and called, no one responded. The floor around the house was fenny as no one used the area. Since there was no one in the house, birds started living in the turret. Creepers grew on in the windowsill. Host of the ghost dwell in the empty house. So I want you to learn this question answers, children. Kindly go through all the question answers and learn it, write it as a home test. Do not waste your time. This is the poem question answers. I want you to read it, learn it, write it. Thank you, children.